Let me ask you something. When was the last time you paused, really paused, and looked at your life, your habits, your mindset, and asked yourself, am I actually growing or just getting older? Most people don't. Most people drift. They move through their days checking boxes, running errands, chasing success, chasing approval, maybe chasing comfort, but not growth. Growth is different. Growth is intentional. Growth is uncomfortable. Growth is earned. And that's what we're here to talk about. You see, there's a reason why some people seem calm in chaos, strong in struggle, focused when the world is distracted. They've tapped into something timeless. They've aligned their lives, not with trends or hacks or motivational fluff, but with principles, real ones, hard ones, life-changing ones, the kind of principles the ancient Stoics lived by. Now, before you think this is some dusty old philosophy lesson, let me tell you this. Stoicism isn't about being emotionless or pretending you don't care. It's not about sitting on a rock and quoting Marcus Aurelius to sound deep. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't break when life gets hard. It's about building an unshakable foundation, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so that you can face whatever comes with strength, wisdom, and clarity. These Stoic ideas weren't meant to sit in books. They were made to be lived. And today, I want to show you how you can use them. 15 specific principles to radically change the trajectory of your personal growth starting right now. Not next year, not when life calms down, now. Each of these principles we're about to explore is a tool, not a rule to memorize, but a weapon for the battles you face every day. The battle against doubt, against procrastination, against fear, against that voice in your head that tells you you're not ready, that you can't change, that this is just who you are. That voice lies. You can change, but it's not going to happen by accident, and it won't happen if you wait for life to give you permission. These 15 principles are not easy. They ask something of you. They ask that you take responsibility, that you stop blaming, that you get serious about the person you want to become, not someday, but today. That's the Stoic way. It's not about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. It's not about chasing pleasure. It's about chasing purpose. It's not about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. So if you've been stuck, distracted, defeated, this is your wake-up call. If you've been waiting for the perfect time to evolve, this is it. There's no better time, no better place, and no better philosophy to guide you than one forged by warriors, emperors, and survivors who understood that the mind is either your prison or your power. We're about to dive into 15 principles that can transform the way you think, the way you act, and the way you face this one short, wild life. But I'll be straight with you. This only works if you're honest with yourself. If you're willing to stop making excuses and start making choices. So take a breath, clear your head. This isn't just a video, this is a moment to reset, to remember who you are, to get aligned with something ancient, tested, and true. Because personal growth isn't about achieving perfection. It's about moving forward with courage, one principle at a time. And if you're ready, really ready, we'll begin. Let's start with the foundation. Principle 1. You control your response, not the world. This is the heart of Stoicism. The world is going to do what it does. People will lie, things will break, plans will fall apart. Someone will misunderstand you, criticize you, betray you, and in those moments you'll be tempted to react, to lash out, to collapse, to play the victim. But that's not power. That's surrender. That's giving your peace, your focus, your energy away to something you can't control. The Stoics taught that freedom isn't found in controlling events. It's found in mastering your reaction to them. That means when someone cuts you off in traffic, you can choose patience. When your plans fall through, you can choose adaptability. When the world feels unfair, you can still choose integrity. It's not easy, but it's simple. It comes down to one question. Is your response helping you grow or keeping you stuck? Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And that's not just some feel-good quote, that's a strategy. Because when you obsess over things outside your control, what someone said, what someone did, what might go wrong, you waste energy that could be fueling your growth. You get caught in a loop of frustration instead of action, fear instead of focus. Think about how much of your stress comes from wanting things to be different than they are. That person should have been nicer. That job should have paid more. That goal should have happened faster. But here's the truth. Wishing the world was different doesn't change it. Responding differently does. So the next time life throws something unexpected your way, and it will, don't ask, why me? Ask, what now? Don't ask, who's to blame? Ask, what's within my power? That's the Stoic move. That's the shift that changes everything. You're not a puppet of circumstances. You're a person with power. Power to pause, power to choose, power to rise above what tries to pull you down. And once you really internalize this, once you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you free yourself. You stop being at the mercy of every mood, every person, every headline. You become grounded, centered, unshakable. Now let's take it deeper. Principle 2. Embrace discomfort. It's where growth lives. If you're chasing comfort, you're not growing. Period. Comfort is nice, it feels good, but it's also a trap. It keeps you from stretching, from learning, from evolving. And the Stoics knew this. That's why they deliberately trained themselves to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Seneca would sleep on the floor. He'd wear rough clothes. He'd eat plain food. Not because he was a masochist, but because he wanted to remind himself, I can endure this. I don't need luxury. I don't need ease. I don't fear discomfort. And that's the lesson. Discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the gatekeeper to strength. Think about any area of growth, physical, mental, emotional. It all begins in discomfort. That first workout after months of inactivity, that first honest conversation after years of avoidance, that moment when you speak up, step up, or let go of something familiar. It all hurts a little. But that pain is the price of progress. Most people avoid that. They numb it. They delay it. They wait for the perfect moment to feel ready. But that moment never comes. And while they wait, they stay the same. Not you, not anymore. Because here's the truth. Growth requires friction. And if you want to build a stronger mind, a stronger will, a stronger character, you're going to have to get uncomfortable on purpose. Start small. Take a cold shower. Say no when it's easier to say yes. Wake up an hour earlier. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Discomfort trains your nervous system to stop flinching. It proves to yourself that you can do hard things, and that proof builds self-respect. You stop running from the hard stuff. You start walking straight into it, and every time you do, you become someone you're proud of. Because comfort may feel good in the short term, but discomfort gives you something better. Growth, confidence, resilience, and the deep, quiet pride that comes from facing what most people fear. The Stoics weren't about escaping life's pain. They were about stepping into it with courage, with preparation, and with purpose. And so can you. Because on the other side of discomfort is everything you've been waiting for. Strength, clarity, discipline, progress. But you'll never get there if you keep choosing what's easy. Growth doesn't happen by accident, it happens by choice. And your next choice can be one that builds you. So lean into the challenge. Let discomfort be your teacher. Because if you can learn to love the hard road, there is nothing in this world that can stop you. Now let's talk about something that sounds strange at first, but it's one of the most powerful tools the Stoics ever used. Principle 3. The obstacle is the way. Most people see obstacles as problems. A job loss, a failed relationship, a rejection, a delay, and the automatic reaction is frustration, anger, defeat. Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? But the Stoics flipped that thinking completely. They saw obstacles not as roadblocks, but as the path itself, as opportunities to grow in a way they never could have otherwise. Marcus Aurelius said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." That's not just poetic. It's practical. Whatever you're facing right now, the thing you wish wasn't happening, that is your training ground. That is your teacher. That is the very thing that, if you face it with the right mindset, will take you to the next level, but only if you stop resenting it. Life isn't supposed to be smooth. It's supposed to stretch you, and the things that feel like setbacks are often setups for something greater. But you only discover that if you lean in instead of backing down. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who inspire you. Do you admire them because everything went perfectly for them? Or because they faced something hard and came out stronger? Growth doesn't come from ease, it comes from resistance. And that resistance, those obstacles, that's where your power is forged. So the next time life throws something at you, take a breath, then ask, how can I use this? How can this make me sharper, stronger, wiser? Maybe you didn't get the promotion. Good. Now you can reassess your path and take charge of your career. Maybe someone betrayed your trust. Good. Now you get to learn discernment and develop resilience. Maybe your plans fell apart. Good. Now you learn how to adapt on the fly and stay grounded when life gets unpredictable. Every challenge carries a gift, but most people never open it because they're too busy complaining about the wrapping. You have to train yourself to look at problems differently. Not as enemies, but as allies in disguise. Because life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And once you start seeing your obstacles as the very ingredients of your evolution, you become unstoppable. The obstacle is the way, not around it, not over it. Through it. And once you accept that, you no longer live at the mercy of circumstances. You live with the mindset of a warrior. A Stoic, someone who turns every difficulty into development. Now let's move to something that might surprise you. Principle 4. Practice negative visualization. At first it sounds depressing, right? Why would anyone want to visualize negative things? Loss, failure, death, isn't that just inviting anxiety? Actually, it's the opposite. It's about freedom and gratitude and mental preparation. The Stoics had a technique called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. In plain terms, that means imagining in vivid detail the things that could go wrong. Losing your job, your home, your health, your loved ones. Not to dwell in fear, but to remind yourself, nothing is guaranteed. Everything is temporary, and you are strong enough to face it. You do this not to scare yourself, but to wake yourself up. Because most people take their lives for granted, their family, their health, their freedom, their time, and then when something is taken from them, they fall apart. Why? Because they never trained for it. The Stoic doesn't ignore the possibility of loss. They confront it, they prepare their mind for it, and in doing so they deepen their appreciation for what they have right now. Try it. Imagine waking up tomorrow and everything is gone. Your comfort, your home, your routine, the people you love. Now imagine just for a moment what it would feel like to get it all back. That first conversation, that first sunrise, that ordinary cup of coffee in your kitchen. You wouldn't rush through it. You'd savor it. You'd actually live it. That's what negative visualization gives you. The ability to feel grateful now, not later. And it gives you something else too, resilience. Because when you've rehearsed difficulty in your mind, you're less likely to panic when it happens in real life. You've trained, you've seen it coming. And even if the pain is real, you're not shocked by it, you're ready. This practice strips away entitlement. It humbles you. It makes you cherish the smallest moments. And it fortifies you for when life tests you, which it always will. So no, the Stoics didn't obsess over doom and gloom. They didn't walk around in fear. They walked around awake. Awake to the fragility of life. Awake to the miracle of each moment. Awake to the reality that nothing lasts forever. So everything should be lived fully. And here's the paradox. The more you face the darkness in your mind, the more light you bring into your life. You stop sleepwalking. You stop wasting time. You stop waiting for some perfect future and start living with intensity, purpose, and gratitude right now. Negative visualization isn't about fear. It's about preparation. It's about presence. And it's one of the most liberating habits you can adopt. Because when you can look at your life, see how much could be taken away, and still feel grateful, you're truly free. You don't need more, you just need awareness, and that awareness practiced daily becomes a kind of armor. It grounds you, it sharpens you, it elevates you. That's what the Stoics knew, and it's what you're starting to live. Let's go deeper into what it actually means to live well. Principle 5. Don't let emotions dictate action. We live in a world that tells us to follow our feelings, that emotions are truth. That if you're angry, you should act on it. If you're afraid, you should avoid it. If you're excited, you should chase it. But the Stoics had a different approach. They didn't suppress emotion, they examined it. They didn't act on impulse, they acted on reason. The Stoic doesn't deny that emotions exist. They simply refuse to be controlled by them. Think about it. How many times have you said something in anger that you regretted? How many times have you made a decision out of fear or desperation that took you backward instead of forward? That's what happens when we react without reflection. Epictetus taught that the first impression is not always within our control, but our judgment about that impression is. The flash of anger, the wave of sadness, the pull of desire, those things might come without warning. But what you do next, that's yours. That's your moment of power. Most people live on autopilot, triggered by emotions, tossed around by moods, but not the Stoic. The Stoic learns to pause, to notice what they're feeling, and then ask, is this helpful? Is this wise? Is this aligned with who I want to be? That pause, that gap between stimulus and response, is everything. It's where freedom lives. It's where growth begins. You don't have to be cold or robotic, you just have to be clear. Emotions are like weather. They pass. But character, values, virtue, that's the climate you build over time. That's what you want guiding your life. So when you feel jealousy rising, don't let it make your choices. When fear whispers in your ear, don't let it write your future. When anger burns in your chest, don't hand it the wheel. Acknowledge the emotion, learn from it, but don't obey it. You are not your feelings. You are the observer of your feelings. And the more you practice separating who you are from what you feel, the more grounded you become, the less reactive, the more intentional. That's the Stoic superpower: calm in the storm, clarity in chaos. Stillness in noise, because at the end of the day, it's not what you feel that defines you, it's what you do with it. Now we come to one of the deepest principles. Principle 6. Live according to nature and reason. This might sound abstract, but it's incredibly practical. To the Stoics, living according to nature didn't mean moving into the woods or living off the grid. It meant living in alignment with your true nature as a human being. And that nature, they believed, was rooted in reason, virtue, and community. You're not here just to survive. You're not here just to chase pleasure, accumulate stuff, or win arguments. You're here to live a life of excellence, to develop your character, to use your mind, to contribute to the world in a meaningful way. And that starts by asking, what kind of person am I meant to be? Not who your parents wanted you to be, not who society pressures you to be, but who you, deep down, know you are capable of becoming Living according to nature means using your reason to guide your choices, not your impulses, not your ego. Reason is your compass. It's what allows you to rise above emotion, above peer pressure, above the chaos of the world, and ask, what is the right thing to do? It also means living in harmony with others. We're social creatures. We're not meant to isolate, dominate, or manipulate. We're meant to cooperate, to serve, to build something greater than ourselves. That's why Marcus Aurelius said, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." So when you live in alignment with nature, you live with integrity. You make decisions not based on what's easy or popular, but based on what's right. You stop pretending. You stop performing. You start living a life that actually feels like yours. And here's the thing, when your outer life starts to match your inner values, something incredible happens. Peace. Not the peace that comes from comfort or avoidance, but the deep peace that comes from living in truth. You don't need to fake confidence when your actions match your principles. You don't need to chase validation when you respect the person you are becoming. You don't need to escape your life when your life is aligned with what you truly believe. Living according to nature is not a one-time choice. It's a daily practice. A constant returning to your center. A constant refinement of who you are and how you move through the world. It's the difference between drifting and deciding, between reacting and creating, between surviving and thriving. So stop asking what the world expects of you. Start asking what your higher self expects of you. Let that be your standard. Let that be your guide. Because when you live in alignment with your nature, with your reason, your virtue, your potential, you stop betraying yourself. You stop living a borrowed life, and you start living a meaningful one. And that is the essence of personal growth. Not just becoming more successful, but becoming more yourself. Let's go to Principle 7. Memento mori. Remember, you will die. Now I know that sounds morbid, even uncomfortable, but it's one of the most powerful reminders the Stoics used every single day. Memento mori isn't about fear, it's about clarity. It's about perspective, it's about urgency. See, most people walk through life like they have unlimited time. They say things like someday, later, when I have time, as if they know they'll be around next year or next month or even tomorrow. But the Stoics didn't make that assumption. They knew life was short, fragile, unpredictable, so they didn't waste it. They didn't procrastinate purpose. They didn't wait to say what mattered. They didn't put off growth, because they remembered something we try so hard to forget. This ride ends. Seneca said, "You act like mortals in all that you fear and like immortals in all that you desire." Think about that. We worry like our time is short, but we waste it like it's endless. We stress over little things. We chase what doesn't matter. We delay the conversations, the risks, the changes that could actually make life meaningful. Memento mori shatters that illusion. It brings you back to reality. It asks you to look your mortality in the eye, not to paralyze you, but to wake you up. To make you ask the questions that cut through the noise. If today was your last day, would you be proud of how you're living? If this year was your last, would you keep postponing what matters most? Would you keep tolerating what drains you, faking what you don't believe in, running from what you know you're capable of? The truth is, the clock is ticking, and that's not something to fear, it's something to fuel you. When you remember you will die, you stop sleepwalking, you stop settling, you start showing up. You start saying what you mean, doing what you've been avoiding, becoming the version of yourself that won't look back with regret. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, just for himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." That wasn't dark. That was discipline. That was clarity. Death isn't the enemy. Forgetting it is. Because when you forget death, you forget to live. So don't wait for a crisis to wake you up. Let this be the moment. Look at your life, look at your time, ask yourself if you're living in a way that honors it. Then change what you must, start where you are, and make every moment count. Because you don't get to control how long you live, but you do get to control how deeply, how honestly, how urgently, and that's where the fire comes from, that's where presence is born. Not in pretending we'll live forever, but in remembering that we won't. Now let's talk about a principle that's both liberating and challenging. Principle 8. Be ruthlessly honest with yourself. If you want real growth, you have to start here, with honesty, not the filtered kind, not the surface level kind, the brutal kind, the quiet kind, the kind you don't post about, the kind that happens in the dark when it's just you and your reflection and the question, am I who I pretend to be? See, we're all tempted to lie to ourselves, to justify, to minimize, to deflect, to say we're doing our best when we're actually avoiding the hard stuff, to say we want growth when we're chasing comfort, to say we value discipline when we keep making excuses. But growth doesn't come from pretending, it comes from owning the truth, even when it stings. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That's the standard. Compassion for others. But for yourself, relentless honesty. Where are you playing small? Where are you blaming others instead of taking responsibility? Where are you coasting when you know you could be more? This isn't about shame, this is about clarity. Because when you lie to yourself, you build your life on a shaky foundation. You'll make choices based on illusion, not truth. You'll settle for comfort instead of chasing who you're meant to be. But when you start telling yourself the truth about your habits, your attitude, your fears, your flaws, something changes. You reclaim your power, because the truth, even when it's hard, is the starting point of every breakthrough. And here's the good news. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. Own where you are, see it clearly. Then do something about it. Maybe you've been procrastinating. Maybe you've been avoiding the mirror. Maybe you've been blaming your past, your boss, your circumstances. That's okay, but not anymore. Because the moment you start being honest, the moment you stop performing, stop pretending, stop avoiding, that's the moment you start to change. That's the moment growth gets real. No one else needs to know. You don't need to make a speech, but you need to make a decision to stop lying, to stop faking progress, to stop being more invested in looking good than actually getting better. You're capable of more, but you'll never reach it if you keep hiding from yourself. So sit with the discomfort, ask the hard questions, tell the truth, and then, step by step, become the kind of person who doesn't need lies to get through the day. Because the strongest people aren't the ones who hide their flaws. They're the ones who face them, refine them, and grow because of them. That's real strength, that's real growth, and that starts with one brutally honest conversation with yourself. Let's keep going. Principle 9, detach from outcomes, commit to effort. This one's huge. If you've ever felt frustrated because you gave your all and things still didn't go your way, if you've ever obsessed over results that were out of your hands, you're not alone. That frustration, that's the pain of attachment. Not just to what you did, but to what you expected to get from it. The Stoics were clear about this. Focus on what's in your control, and the outcome. Let it go. You can control your preparation, your discipline, your integrity, your effort, but you can't control the reward. You can control how you show up. You can't control who notices. You can control how much heart you put in. You can't control how the world responds, and that's okay, because growth doesn't come from guarantees. It comes from showing up regardless. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." That's the move. Detach from the finish line. Pour yourself into the process. Let go of the scoreboard and fall in love with the work. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop needing the outcome to validate the effort. Because the truth is, when you tie your happiness to results, you live in a constant state of anxiety. Did it work? Did they like it? Did I win? That's a fragile way to live. But when you tie your satisfaction to your input, to your consistency, your honesty, your growth, you're free, you're unshakable. You win even when the world says you didn't. Think about it like this. If you do the right thing for the right reason with your full attention, then no matter what happens after that, you've already won, because you've done your part. And that's the only part that was ever yours to own. So whether you're training for something, building something, healing something, or learning something, detach from the applause, detach from the timeline, detach from how it should look. And double down on your effort, your ethic, your character. That's where the fulfillment is. That's where the confidence comes from. Not from winning, but from knowing you gave everything you had, no matter what came back. Detach from outcomes, commit to the process, and trust that the results will take care of themselves, maybe not how you imagined, but exactly how they're meant to. Now let's move into something we all need to be reminded of. Principle 10. Seek progress, not perfection. Perfection is a trap. It looks noble, it sounds high-minded, but it's really just fear in disguise. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of being exposed as less than flawless. But here's the truth. You're not supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to be growing. The Stoics never told you to be perfect. They told you to be better today than you were yesterday, to keep climbing, to keep learning, to keep choosing what's right even when you stumble. Seneca said, "While we wait for life, life passes." And perfectionism? That's a lot of waiting. Waiting to feel ready, waiting to be flawless, waiting until everything is just right before you act. And in the meantime, life passes, growth pauses, the world misses out on what you have to give. Progress is messy, it's inconsistent, it's full of stumbles, setbacks and lessons. But it's real, it moves you forward, and every step you take, even the small ones, even the ugly ones, shape you. Don't fall for the illusion that you have to have it all together to get started. Start now. Start awkward. Start afraid, but start, because motion beats perfection every time. You want to write? Write badly, but write. You want to get in shape? Show up, even if it's not the perfect routine. You want to heal? Speak honestly, even if your voice shakes. That's progress. And it's more powerful than any fantasy of perfection. The Stoics believed that virtue is developed over time, through repeated choices, through effort, through daily commitment. They didn't expect to hit the mark every time, but they aimed with intention, and they kept aiming day after day. So give yourself permission to be imperfect, not to stay stuck, but to move freely. To fail with purpose, to rise without shame. Perfection will keep you frozen. Progress will keep you moving. And every time you choose growth over image, humility over pride, movement over paralysis, you're stepping into the life you were meant to live. You're not here to impress anyone. You're here to evolve. And that evolution happens not in perfect moments, but in courageous ones. The ones where you keep going, not because it's flawless, but because it matters. So chase progress, not perfection. Be proud of the direction, not just the speed. And trust that with every honest step, you're building something that lasts, something real, something unshakable. Let's keep moving. Principle 11. Be present. The moment is all you own. This one might be the hardest in today's world. We live in constant distraction. Our minds are always racing ahead to what's next, or circling back to what already happened. We're chasing future outcomes, regretting past mistakes, scrolling through lives that aren't ours, comparing, worrying, analyzing. And in the middle of all that noise, we miss what's actually happening, right now. The Stoics were obsessed with presence. Not just because it feels good, but because it's the only place where life actually exists. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself again and again, confine yourself to the present. That wasn't just philosophical advice, that was survival. Because when you live anywhere but now, you suffer twice, once in imagination and again in reality. Most people are haunted by two things, the past and the future, but neither of those are real. Not anymore, not yet. What's real is this breath, this choice, this conversation, and this is where your power is. Not in fixing the past, not in controlling the future, but in choosing your response in the present. Right now you have everything you need to begin. Right now you can take one step forward. Right now you can breathe. You can ground yourself. You can reconnect with what matters. And here's what's wild. The more present you are, the more clearly you see. You stop catastrophizing, you stop reacting, you stop performing. You just act from clarity, from values, from truth. Life isn't later, it's now. The joy, the change, the focus, the breakthrough, it all begins here, in this exact moment, if you choose to be in it. So how do you practice presence? You slow down, you breathe before you speak, you listen fully when someone talks. You give your full focus to what's in front of you, no matter how ordinary it feels. Washing dishes, tying shoes, walking to your car, those aren't just tasks, they're practice. Practice for attention, practice for life. You don't need to escape to be present. You need to return over and over again to your body, to your breath, to the opportunity in front of you, because this moment, this breath, is all you're guaranteed. And if you miss it, you miss your life. Let's go deeper. Principle 12. Choose character over reputation. It's easy to get caught up in how things look, in how you're perceived, in the image you're projecting. But the Stoics remind us that what really matters is who you are when no one's watching, not your image, not your popularity, not your likes or applause, but your integrity. Reputation is what others think of you. Character is who you actually are. The Stoics didn't care about being admired, they cared about being virtuous. Honest, brave, just disciplined. They measured success not by fame or wealth or approval, but by how closely their actions aligned with their principles. And that's the challenge, to stop living for the crowd and start living for your conscience. Because when you chase reputation, you lose yourself. You start shaping your life around what people expect. You start hiding your flaws, exaggerating your wins, editing your truth. And in doing so, you create a version of yourself that looks impressive but feels hollow. But when you chase character, you find freedom. You're not pretending. You're not performing. You're not obsessing over who's watching. You're focused on doing the right thing, even when it costs you, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one ever gives you credit. Character is built in the small, private decisions. The ones no one applauds, the ones no one sees, but those are the moments that shape your soul. You won't always get recognition, you won't always get validation, but you'll sleep well. You'll respect yourself, and in the end, that's the only thing that lasts. Marcus Aurelius said, "Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. That's the standard, not success, not attention." But doing what's right, it's easy to chase what looks good. It's harder to become someone good. But only one of those paths leads to peace. So choose character. Choose what builds your inner world, not just your outer image. Because at the end of the day, reputation fades, but who you become, that's forever. Let's keep going. Principle 13. Master the art of delayed gratification. We live in an instant world. One-click purchases, same-day delivery, non-stop entertainment, food at our door in minutes. Everything is built around now, not later. Not eventually, now. And while that might feel convenient, it's also weakening something essential inside us, our ability to wait. our ability to delay, our ability to earn things through effort, not impulse. The Stoics understood that the easy pleasure now often comes at the cost of real fulfillment later. That chasing comfort in the moment can rob you of strength, clarity, and character in the long run. Discipline, restraint, patience, these aren't glamorous. They don't get you applause. But they build a kind of internal wealth that can't be bought. They build the kind of person who doesn't need to be ruled by cravings or urges or trends. Seneca said, "No man is free who is a slave to his passions." And every time you choose short-term pleasure over long-term growth, you're giving up a piece of your freedom. But every time you resist that impulse, every time you choose to wait, to endure, to push through instead of indulge, you become more powerful. Think about how many goals fall apart, not because someone lacked talent, but because they lacked patience. They wanted results now. And when they didn't come fast enough, they gave up. That's not weakness, it's untrained impulse, and it can be trained. You can practice delay. You can choose not to check your phone the second you're bored. You can choose to sit with discomfort instead of reaching for a distraction. You can choose to save instead of spend. You can choose to work out when it's inconvenient. You can choose to have the hard conversation instead of the easy silence. Each time you do, you're building willpower. You're proving to yourself that you don't need instant rewards to feel whole, that you're capable of thinking long-term, that you trust yourself to do what's hard now for something better later. And that's a superpower, because the best things in life, strength, wisdom, trust, mastery, none of them come quickly. All of them require patience. All of them demand sacrifice. All of them ask you to say no now, so you can say yes later to something deeper, something more meaningful. Delayed gratification isn't about denial. It's about alignment. It's about choosing what serves your future self over what flatters your current craving. So train that muscle, strengthen that reflex. Become the kind of person who isn't ruled by urges but guided by purpose. Because anyone can indulge, but only the disciplined grow. Now we arrive at the final principle, and it might be the most beautiful of all. Principle 14. Serve others, strengthen yourself. The Stoics didn't believe in living for yourself alone. They believed we're all connected. That the purpose of life isn't just personal achievement, it's contribution, it's service, it's making the world a little better through who you are and how you live. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." That means your strength, your wisdom, your progress. It's not just for you, it's for others too. Your family, your community, even strangers. We grow when we serve. We become stronger when we lift others, not just in big heroic ways, but in small, daily ways, showing up, listening, giving time, being kind when it's inconvenient, sharing knowledge, leading by example. The world doesn't need more selfish ambition. It needs more conscious action, more people who are willing to use what they've learned to help someone else rise. And here's what's wild. When you serve from the right place, it doesn't drain you. It fuels you. You gain meaning. You gain perspective. You gain resilience. Because when you stop thinking only about yourself, your problems shrink. Your pain becomes a pathway. Your story becomes someone else's survival guide. Seneca believed that kindness is a form of strength, that compassion doesn't weaken us, it completes us. So don't just ask, "How can I grow?" Ask, "How can I help?" Don't just aim to build a great life. Aim to lift lives around you. Be useful. Be present. Be a force for good, even when no one sees it. Because service isn't about recognition. It's about alignment with your values, with your nature, with the part of you that knows we rise higher together than we ever could alone. This is how you build lasting strength. Not by standing apart from the world, but by engaging with it. By showing up fully, by leaving people better than you found them. And the beautiful thing is, the more you give, the more you grow. So take what you've learned, use it, not just to improve yourself, but to uplift the world around you. That's Stoicism at its highest level. Not just personal resilience, but shared humanity. Not just private growth, but public good. And that, more than anything else, is what makes you unshakable. Let's bring it all together now. Principle 15. Be a student of life, always. This one might be the most essential for lasting growth, because no matter how far you come, no matter how much you achieve, no matter how many of these principles you embody, there's always more to learn, always more to uncover, always another level to reach. The Stoics weren't just teachers, they were students first. Every single day, Marcus Aurelius, even as Emperor of Rome, reminded himself constantly that he still had work to do, still had lessons to absorb, still had weaknesses to confront. He journaled not to show off his wisdom, but to sharpen it, to question himself, to study himself. That mindset, humility, curiosity, openness, that's what keeps you growing. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment you stop moving forward. But when you stay a student, you never plateau. You never stagnate. You keep evolving, refining, deepening. It means you listen more than you talk. It means you seek feedback, even when it stings. It means you treat every experience, good or bad, as a lesson, every person as a teacher, every challenge as a classroom. It means you let go of needing to be right and focus on becoming better. Most people stop learning the moment it gets uncomfortable, the moment it challenges their ego. But the Stoic leans in, because they know that discomfort is often the sign of something worth learning. You don't have to know everything, you just have to be teachable. You have to be willing to unlearn what no longer serves you, to question your assumptions, to drop your pride and pick up a notebook, literally or figuratively. Being a student doesn't make you weak. It makes you unstoppable, because the person who is always learning is always leveling up, always becoming harder to shake, harder to manipulate, harder to break. So keep reading, keep asking questions, keep observing yourself. Keep refining your thinking, and remember that real wisdom isn't about collecting quotes or sounding smart. It's about how deeply you're willing to change in the face of truth. Stay humble, stay open, stay learning. Because there's no finish line for growth, just deeper understanding, better choices, and a life that becomes more aligned with the person you're here to be. Now let's close this journey together. You've heard 15 principles, 15 pillars of growth, strength, and transformation, each one rooted in an ancient philosophy that saw life not as something to endure, but something to master. Not for the sake of control, but for the sake of peace, of virtue, of freedom. And that's what this has all been about, not just Stoicism, not just personal development, but freedom. Freedom from chaos, freedom from ego. Freedom from the lies we tell ourselves to stay safe and small. You've learned that you don't control the world, but you control your response. That growth lives in discomfort. That your obstacles are not in the way, they are the way. That fear can't dictate your actions, that you're not your emotions, you're the master of them. You've seen that what matters most is alignment with nature, with reason, with who you know you're meant to be. You've remembered that you will die, and in remembering, you've found urgency, presence, clarity. You've faced the hard truth that growth demands honesty, that you can't evolve while lying to yourself, that the only way forward is through self-awareness. You've let go of outcomes, you've embraced the process, you've rejected perfection and chosen progress. You've chosen presence over distraction, character over performance, discipline over impulse. You've remembered that your strength isn't just for you, it's for others. That serving the world strengthens your spirit. That your life, when lived fully, becomes a light for others to follow. And above all, you've chosen to be a student, to keep learning, to keep asking more of yourself, to stay humble even as you grow stronger. Now the question is, what will you do with this? Because wisdom is nothing without action. Insight means nothing without embodiment. These principles are tools, but only you can pick them up. Only you can put them into practice. Only you can decide that from this moment on, your life will be different. Not because everything around you changes, but because you change. Because you've decided that personal growth isn't a phase, it's your path. Because you've decided to stop being a spectator and start being a creator of your life, your values, your future. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being intentional, being courageous, being disciplined enough to show up again and again, no matter how many times you fall. You're not here to drift. You're here to live on purpose, with clarity, with integrity, with an inner compass that doesn't shake when the world does. So choose your principle, choose your focus, then act. Begin where you are, use what you have, start with today. Because today is enough. This moment is enough. You are enough, not to stay where you are, but to grow beyond it. And when you live this way, not just learning Stoicism, but living it, you don't just change your life. You become the kind of person who changes others too. One choice, one principle, one day at a time. Now go live it.